Okay, let's just jump right in. What do we got? Well, we got a unit circle, we got a chart. Um, just real quick, gonna go through one of these. So pi over 6 is 30 degrees. Sine of 30 degrees is is 1/2. Cosine of 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2. And tangent of theta is sine theta over cosine theta. So sine is 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2. And what kind of a problem is that? Keep, change, flip. So I got 1/2 times 2 over the square root of 3. The 2's cancel off, and I have 1 over the square root of 3. But what have we said about this? You can't have a radical in the denominator, so I'm expecting you to rationalize. So that's square root of 3 over 3. Okay, so let's jump right in right here. So evaluate the following trigonometric expressions and explain how you use the unit circle to determine your answer. Maybe you don't need to explain, but what I do need to do is talk about this for real quick. Okay, so here are some things that we got. So let's make sure we understand what's going on. So if I take sine of pi plus theta, so let's just say we're talking about 30 degrees, right? So we're going to add 30 degrees to whatever we're talking about. Well, in this case, pi is 180. So let's remember 180 plus theta, but we're talking about 30 degrees. So 30 degrees for sine is 1/2. So if I go 180 degrees and then add 30 to it, I'm at 210. So what is sine of 210? It's negative 1/2. So when I take pi and add theta to it, I end up with negative sine of theta. See what happened? Let's show again, cosine. So if I'm doing cosine of 45 degrees, right? Cosine of 45 degrees, and I add 180 to it. So that's what pi is. So I'm going to go, um, cosine of 45 degrees is pi over 2 over 2. So I'm going to go to the 180, and then I'm going to add pi over 4 or 45 degrees to it. And where am I at? My cosine is negative pi over 2 over 2. And remember, tangent is just sine over cosine. So if I've got sine is going to be negative and cosine is going to be negative, the negatives cancel off. And so if I got tangent of that, it's just positive. So the same thing happens when I'm looking at things right here. So sine of 2 pi minus theta. So let's go back with the 30 degrees, right? So 2 pi puts me right here at 0/360. So if I subtract 30 degrees, I end up right here, and my sine is negative. If I do the same thing with cosine is right here of 2 pi or 360 degrees, and I subtract theta, my cosine is positive. But because tangent is sine over cosine, I've got a negative over a positive, so that's going to be negative. And then vice versa here. If I've got pi minus theta, so pi is 180 degrees, so let's just do 30 again. So 180 minus 30 is 150. So if I start with sine of 30 degrees, that's positive. Right here, my sine ends up being positive. And then with cosine, if I go to 180 and I subtract 30, my cosine of 30 degrees is the square root of 3 over 2, but the cosine of 150 degrees is negative cosine, or excuse me, negative pi over radical 3 over 2. See what's going on? And then again, sine of theta divided by cosine of theta, or excuse me, sine of theta divided by negative cosine of theta. There's only one negative, so then that ends up negative. So now, what the higgity heck do I do with all of this? Well, let's go back and look at what we got. So right here, I've got cosine of pi plus pi over 3. But when we just went over that, cosine of pi plus theta. What did it say? Cosine plus theta is negative theta. So this is going to be negative cosine of theta. And then what's negative cosine of theta? Well, theta in this case is 30 degrees. Its cosine is, excuse me, cosine, I'm sorry, cosine of 60 degrees. So cosine of 60 degrees is positive 1/2, but that says negative cosine. So that's going to be negative 1/2. And here, sine of pi minus theta. In this case, pi minus 45 degrees. So minus sine pi minus theta is still positive sine. So that's going to be sine of pi over 4, which is pi of 45 degrees, or sine of 45 degrees. And that's just positive square root of 2 over 2. Right? Okay, so next, I've got sine of 2 pi minus pi over 6. Pi over 6 is 30 degrees. So 360 minus, excuse me, 360 minus 30 degrees. Well, one, we can keep using this, which is good, you know, but then at the same time, we can use the unit circle. So we've got 360 degrees minus 30 degrees. What does that put me at for sine? It puts me at negative 1/2. Now, what I am going to ask you to do is I want to see this. Okay, so like I said, it's easy to put the right answer because all we got to do is use degrees or the radians, look at the chart, and boom, there's the answer. But I want you to show me this part of it. So, like for instance, this sign right here, that ends up being, so I'm just gonna draw a little line, right? So this ends up being sine of 2 pi minus pi over 6 ends up being negative sine of pi over 6, right? And negative sine of pi over 6 is negative 1/2. So that's the explain how you got it stuff. So while we can get the answer, it's easy. I want to see that part. So I want to make sure that you're using this stuff here. So that's something you want to put in your notes. So let's see right here. So I've got cosine of pi plus theta, or 180 plus 30. 180 plus 30 puts me right there. It's going to be a negative sign. Cosine of pi plus theta is negative cosine. So and negative 30 degrees is negative square root of 3 over 2. So the next one, pi minus theta, or pi minus pi over 4. So that's going to be negative. See, it's all about what quadrant it puts you in. Well, it's not all about that, but that's mostly what it is. But again, that's what I want you to show me is your justification by showing me this. They're showing me this equals that, showing me this equals that, and so forth. So this one, that one that's going to be negative cosine of pi over 4. So negative cosine of pi over 4 is going to be negative square root of 2 over 2. And then I've got cosine of Let's see, 2 pi minus pi over 3. 2 pi minus theta is positive. So that's going to be a positive cosine of pi over 3. Cosine of pi over 3 is the square root of 3 over 2. All right, so now let's go to tangent. So, tangent for this one is pi plus pi over 4. So pi plus, so if tangent of pi plus theta, it is positive. So this is going to be a positive tangent of pi over 4. So the question is, what's pi over 4? Well, if I go right here, pi over 4 for cosine and sine are the same value. Square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. So what does this mean? That means the square root of 2 over 2 divided by the square root of 2 over 2, because sine and cosine. And because these two are both negative, those cancel each other out, and I just have a positive. So that's going to be positive 1. All right, well, okay, let's just see about doing one more. Why is that not erasing? I guess we'll worry about it now. Okay, so let's see. Tangent of pi minus pi over 6, which is 30 degrees. So tangent of pi minus theta, that ends up being negative tangent. So that is going to be negative tangent of pi over 6. Pi over 6 is 30 degrees. So what did I end up with? I ended up with 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2. 1/2 divided by the square root of 3 over 2. And what kind of problem is that? Yep, that is keep, change, flip. So 1/2 times 2 over the square root of 3. And we've done this 100 times. That is 1 over the square root of 3, but I have to rationalize. So I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3 on top. And I'm going to multiply by the square root of 3 on the bottom. That gives me square root of 3 over 3. And I'll leave the last one for you. But that's how you do that one. That's the first problem. I'm just going to do this in little snippets. So let's call that done.